On this episode of What the Fuck is Wrong with You, Carl, I will show you one of the most terrifying things I've seen this year. So, this is a magazine which is capable on holding like 1,200 BBs, feeding right through with no reloading, no moving of any kind of gear or whatever. This is not a high cap in a traditional way, but yes. So this thing, you can hold it with one hand. But how does it operate? The magazine's quite easy. The hop also is quite easy. You have, like every barrel, one grub screw, and if you rotate the barrels, every time I do this, there is a shot released. So if you having BBs in your system while adjusting the hop, you may shoot something else. Anyway, there are 5 barrels. Every barrel got a thread on it, which means you could possibly add at least 2 traces, depending on how wide they are, maybe 5. I really hope someone will find a way to make this one tracer usable with some kind of extension or whatever. So, this thing, I will take it apart for you, needs a little checkup. What we're doing now is removing the cover here. This is just something, let's say, decorational. And I would really love to see people modding the shit out of this to make it look even more awesome. So, after removing this cover, which is quite easy, just 4 screws, we have to unscrew the barrel assembly and then we can take the thing apart, which is hilariously easy. So, you may have realized I just jumped straight in. But what the fuck are we talking about? This is a Wellpro Minigun-ish thing. It's very mini. These screws, you don't have to remove them completely, by the way. And yeah, this is really mini, and it has an astonishing rate of fire, and this is the worst fucking terrible monster you don't want to meet on the field. So you need a really long screwdriver to get the complete barrel assembly out of here. The thing, by the way, takes normal hop rubbers and normal AEG barrels, which is quite nice, because you can tune the thing to have really a lot of range, which is kinda crazy. So, this is the whole barrel assembly. By unscrewing the grub screws for the hop, you may remove the complete barrels and hop rubbers and change these out. I will not do this. In here, there's this big plastic thing. I will explain this later. Then we have 5 nozzles. For each barrel, 1 nozzle, with nozzle springs and all the stuff. So, yeah, quite simple to this point. Actually, the whole gun is quite simple. Next up, we have a cylinder system, which you can also just take out. And here, the motor just grabs with one additional gear the complete thing and turns it. But what the fuck happens if the thing turns? there's the skier, you can see it, everything else is got ball bearings and stuff, and the motors up here. There's also a motor adjustment screw. The motor actually is quite okay. Not, yeah, you could just remove the whole thing and get it out. I will not. It's a short type motor and it's quite okay. It's got, yeah, I would compare it with a Cymer Blue Line neodymium motor. I will not disassemble this fully. There is some kind of electronics in it, and yes. But yeah, for reassembly, you just put stuff back in. You make sure it sits tight on the gear. You make sure nothing falls apart when you put this back in. So it's easier if you do this overhead. And then, yeah, that's basically it. But how does it work? This is a big question. And how can we make it shoot even faster? Of course, you can use a motor with higher speed, which would be terrifying. I will try this, I guess. For my understanding, the motor doesn't need too much strength here. This system is really, really easy. And yeah, of course, this thing is only shooting full auto. Okay, next up, this thing. It needs to get in, and here comes a little bit of tension to make this window connect with the window down here. So there we got tension on it. This is actually the spring we are using for shooting, which is compressed now. So we can just grab it with the complete barrel assembly and try to get the screw in just for a little bit, so we don't have to hold it very tight anymore. After that, we have to make sure everything's aligned perfectly, and if there is something not perfect, you will lose FPS or have feeding issues. So this needs to get completely on there, and then if you're turning your screwdriver, you will start turning the barrels and then it will shoot. So make sure there are no BBs in your system or you will shoot your hand. Next up, this thing. If this just fits like that perfectly, this means you aligned your barrel assembly well. If not, don't tighten this. Just check how to make your barrel assembly perfect. So yeah, these need to be fixed again. I guess you could just fire the gun without, but I've seen it kinda wobble himself out. So, this is cause if this thing is not on there, you can remove the whole assembly without removing this one spring. I will show you later. So this whole thing is incredibly easy to disassemble and to do maintenance, but I think there will be no maintenance needed. Alright, so magazine, just put in. The first 5 to 10 shots will be needed to get this thing feeding, and after that the terror begins. As you may notice, the barrels are turning, which is very cool. The rate of fire is really fucking high. It's like 2500 BBs per minute with a good 11.1 battery, which is stored in the grip, by the way. And I just wanted to show you there are always BBs in the system if the magazine is not empty. So be fucking careful with that. You kinda need to shoot like 10 seconds to make it empty. Also, you need like 30 seconds of continuous firing to completely empty the magazine. So, what I wanted to show you is you can just grab the whole thing and get it out. And now I just wanted to show you how this thing actually shoots. This is the mechanism. The spring gets compressed by the ball bearing gliding up this plastic piece, which seems like a frickin' reliable concept for my understanding. So I have no real issues that this thing will last a while.